Are you looking to start bass fishing and want to know what jig heads to use? We're going to talk about that.
Welcome back to another episode of 5-Minute Fish Talk.
I'm all out of coffee. I'm so lost without you. I've got 5 minutes on this time of year, and you know what that means. Boop, it's time to get real. I recently made a video on the most important hooks to get started bass fishing. Well, here's the deal. Z33 Tech commented, he's like, what about jig heads? And I'm thinking, excellent idea. So today, we're talking about the most important jig heads to get started bass fishing. Really beginner stuff. Now, if you're walking through Bass Pro, Cabela's, Dick's Sporting Goods, whatever retailer, you're gonna walk up to a wall of just jig heads upon jig heads upon jig heads. Thousands of them, so many stinking jig heads, and it's super intimidating. The reason being is because there's a lot of specialty jig heads for certain types of techniques. And obviously marketers are gonna, anytime they get a chance to come out with something new that's almost identical to the last product, they take that opportunity. So you've got a sea of jig heads in this store and you think, man, I wanna get started bass fishing, but I'm confused as heck. I've got a couple types that I think you can start with, and if you have these, you're going to be in great shape to just get started, have that foundation, start catching fish, and then as you want to learn more of these specialty techniques, you can acquire the other jig heads along the way. Now, today, you know what, there's so much variety that what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to link in the description a couple examples of the ones that I think would be great, but let me elaborate first as to why I think that you need to start with them. The first one that I would start with is something like this or this. You can go with a round ball style. It's very simple. There's a lot of different options out there, but I would personally go with something like this. It's basically just a little basic with a good hook jig head that's going to serve a lot of different needs. You could put this on a worm, you could put this on a swim bait, you could put this on a grub, the list goes on. Here's a little bit different shape of one, but it serves the same purpose. Threading it through some type of plastic and then being able to retrieve it. That's, that covers down on a lot of jig head usages. So I would go with something like that. 1/8 of an ounce, 3/16 of an ounce, 1/4 ounce. Those are some of the sizes that are going to be great to get started because they're going to cover down on a lot of different times, a lot of different fishing needs. You could get a 1/2 ounce and a 3/4 ounce and all that stuff, but that's really for 20, 30 feet of water. And I just think that if you're a beginner, you're probably not fishing that deep. So start with something like that. The second jig head that I would go ahead and get is some type of shaky head jig. Now, what I look for in a shaky head jig is something that's going to be able to come through cover and crawl along the bottom nicely to where it's not going to get hung up, but I'm looking for something that has a pretty good strong hook as well. The other thing is you want it to have a keeper, obviously, so that way it can hold that worm on there. I'll leave, obviously the examples in the description below, but a shaky head jig is really, really good to get started bass fishing because it's kind of a finesse approach that you can catch a lot of fish on, but it really teaches you how to feel a lure through cover. So I would definitely pick up a few of those and you're going to crush some fish on it. The next thing that I would actually do is, you guessed it, Ned rig jigs. So a 1/15, 1/16 ounce jig head with a good strong hook that's not too, you don't want it to be too heavy, but a nice strong hook, something that's going to pair well on 6 or 8 pound test. If you get some of those, you're going to throw this puppy and you're going to catch a lot of fish. Here's the deal. I've got a ton of videos on the Ned rig, so I'll leave those in the description as well if you want to learn a little bit more about the Ned rig. But essentially, if you have Ned rigs, if you have shaky heads, and if you have something that covers down on a variety of soft plastics, swim baits, grubs, whatever, you're pretty much covered, right? And then everything else is going to be more specialty stuff. There's weedless varieties. There's slider jig heads. There's flick shake jig heads. There's tube jigs. The list goes on and on and on and on, but start with these couple. Again, they're linked in the description below. Visually, you'll be able to get a better understanding. But the other thing is you can always leave a comment below, or you can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and ask me questions, and I'm so happy to help. What did I miss, folks? I know a lot of you are super knowledgeable on this as well. My ask for you is to leave a comment below about what I missed, or some of your favorite jig heads. You know what that does? It helps the entire community. Regardless, I'm just yipping and I'm yapping it, but I'm really done here. Have yourself a fantastic weekend, and we'll catch you next time.